Hi, my name is Joanna Barbolla, and I am a speaker and author, and I am so excited to be here today with Pearl.
Hello, sunshine, good to see you again. Had to walk out to let you back in. Stuck in a storm of a relationship. Lost my fire. Oh, and I forgot about me for way too long. But it's rolled on. Now there ain't no shade around here. Once you leave the clouds, you're under. Ain't it funny how there ain't no rain or clean? Why'd it take so long to leave you in the rearview mirror? Now nobody gonna steal my sunshine or turn my blue sky gray. All I know is at the end of the day, wildflowers grow when there ain't no shade.
Hey everybody, it's Pearl Sharenza with Women's Successful Living, and welcome back to another Conversations with Pearl. And I'm so excited to share this special guest with you. I met her at a book, we were like a little book club, and we just hit it off right from the start. We're in our own little town here in Brandon and Tampa, Florida area. But Joanna is going to share what brought her to the area and as we talk today. And I just want you to know she is an author, artist, designer, corporate executive, and teacher. Joanna Barbolla has always been pulled into the exciting world of abstract art and international wines. And who doesn't like a good glass of wine? As you read each page of her book, you will feel her enthusiastic love for wines, gourmet foods, and vibrant, eclectic art. Join her on this splendid journey to uncover those hidden gems and those undeniable emotions experienced in every page of her book. Joanna, I'm so excited to have you here today on the show.
I am so excited to be here, Pearl. Thank you so much for having me as a guest. I've been so looking forward to this.
Oh my gosh, I know we've been working hard on our schedule. So tell everybody, give everybody a little background, how you grew up and what brought you from the city of New York all the way down to the beautiful city of Tampa, Florida.
Yeah, well, if you would have said to me, Joanna, you are going to be a Floridian, a late in life Floridian in your 50s, I would never, ever believe it because I am such a New Yorker. I thought there would never be anywhere else that I would ever go to. This was, my final destination, my own. I would travel, especially to Italy, just for the culture and the wine and the art and everything else, the fashion. But I never thought I'd leave New York. But unfortunately, COVID hit. My career was in New York City for 30 years. I worked as a high-level executive assistant, and COVID hit, and it destroyed my career. And I really had no choice. I couldn't find work. And I wasn't able to stay in Nassau County because I commuted from Long Island. So I said to myself, everybody rants and raves about Florida, Florida, Florida. I mean, I could hear my dad saying to me from when I was 10, I want to move down to Florida. I want to move down and meanwhile, he's in his 80s and he's still never left the Northeast. He's still there. So I think that's hysterical. But so I came down. I looked at a couple of apartments that I researched. And the one that, of course, I did not research was the one that I fell in love with, which brought me to the Brandon area. And I started a second career. And now I'm working in education as a teacher. And I thought, what a fantastic time to finally sit down and read and put together all my thoughts and create DIVULGE D'VINO. It actually started as a wine blog that I started when I spent many years in the wine business, attending many trade shows and events and tastings. And I had so much knowledge, and I said to myself, what am I going to do with all this knowledge? I'm going to write about it. So I started a blog. And each week I would write about a different wine from another country. And it was very, very exciting because my readers loved it. I ran a wine and art business networking group and they loved it. And they kept saying, what's the next wine going to be? What country is the next one going to be from? And I would just go to the wine stores all around my area and talk to the people there. They were so knowledgeable. They were so helpful. And I would pick another wine. So I have 16 altogether in my wine blog. And I said, as an artist and my love to share my art and my art therapy, I said, what a better way to create a whole collaboration of wine and art and create Divulge D'VINO. And I had the time because my schedule was so different. My lifestyle is so different here in Florida. No more 11, 12-hour days that I spent my whole career doing in New York City. So I said, let me use my time wisely and create something and move forward with it. And that's how I came up with Divulge D'VINO. So it's a collaboration of all my wine and all my art.
I love that you took a passion and you created this, at first it started as a blog. And then I love too, that you talk about how you brought people together to talk about it in a network group. And then you create this beautiful book to put together. And, and I want to say, welcome to Florida. I know most people in the world call us, we're called the wicked stepchild state of the country, COVID, but we welcome anybody in. We just want you to come in and enjoy our beautiful state. And it's funny. I think it's really cute too. Like you said, that your dad always wanted to come, and then here you are, and he's still there. So do you ever bring there? Have you brought him down since you've been here?
No, he still has not. And quite frankly, I don't think he wants to. I think it will just be the end of him if he sees my beautiful lifestyle here in Florida compared to New York. And I really don't think he wants to come. Of course, he was asked to come, but
right.
and I can certainly understand his point of view. His whole life he wanted to come down here, and then his daughter comes down here in her 50s.
But for the listeners, I think it's really powerful for them to see that when you have a dream, you have a goal, don't hold back. No matter how young or old you are, like go after it, because, I shared in a post recently in social media that, you're not promised tomorrow. And my story. I lost my son in July of last year. If nothing, the biggest, at 25 years old, the biggest aha for me, and not that I didn't know it, was, you're not promised tomorrow. I was very blessed that, 20 minutes before he passed, we were on a call with him and said, we love you. And, not knowing that he was going to be in a car accident, that's just something we always did. But, to go after your dreams. And that's what we've taught our boys. And, you're that example to those that are listening, especially our women. Oftentimes as women, we put our career first. Like you said, you work 12-hour plus days, then we put our spouses first, then we put our kids first. And if you don't have kids, it's like all those things you put before yourself. And, it's great. You love your career. That's awesome. But if you have a passion like Joanna has for wine and art, she's doing exactly what you guys hear me say on this show all the time. You come into this world, in your DNA, you have this original makeup that's already there, that God's put it in there for you. Whoever you believe in, I believe that God's put it in there for you. And when you're not doing like Joanna's doing and putting it out like on a blog and then bringing people together and then writing this book about it, you're cheating yourself. But most importantly, if Joanna didn't do all those things, she's cheating us on the opportunity to learn about wines and about art and about these countries that these wines come from. And it's so powerful that, and I love that Joanna is an example of what I share with you guys all the time here on the show. And I think it's really important. And I'm going to say it again, whatever you're sitting on, stop sitting, stop waiting, stop saying, oh, when the kids grow up, I'll do this. Oh, when the kids get to high school, I'll do this. Don't be the example for your family, your friends, your spouse, those people that you work with on this is what you can do, even while you're trying to balance it. It's not saying don't give up your career right now. You can certainly start working on it now. So Joanna, tell us about the transition here from New York to Florida. I know it's quite different. How has it been for you?
Like with everything else, there has been really good things going on and challenges. And it's just, as a strong woman that I am, I've learned to overcome the challenges and be grateful for all the gifts. And there's been a lot of gifts. So, I've had to slow down a little bit. And that's hard for me as a New Yorker. I'm a go-getter. I always want to do this, that, and everything else. But I've had some health issues, so I've had to slow down a little bit. And there's been some obstacles that have been put in my place, but that's not stopped me. So I am going forward as fast as I can and as best as I can. And, I started as a art teacher when I first came down here, and then that led into substitute teaching, and then that led into an art therapy course that I designed, which a lot of my paintings from Divulge D'VINO is really art therapy, and which is such a wonderful, wonderful tool to have for yourself, to learn to be able to express yourself through creation and through art. And it's wonderful for stress reduction and coping skills and processing feelings. And I think because of the benefits of it, I became so successful at it. But yeah, so that led into an art therapy class, and then that led into to private tutoring, which I'm trying to really build my business here in Brandon. I think I sent you the flyer for the private tutoring. I work out of the local libraries. And then I also, with the book now, I'm trying to promote it as much as I can. And that's really kind of a second job. I did everything on my own because of the salary change from a New York City salary to a substitute teacher salary. I'm on a strict budget, so I've been doing everything myself, and it's self-published. And I was the illustrator, I was the editor, I was the designer, and because of that, I'm doing all the promotions myself. So things like this, like being a guest speaker. Thank you so much again for giving me this wonderful opportunity to do this, because this is really moving me forward and moving me along, with the whole getting my word out and sharing my book and sharing who I am.
Yeah. And, that's really, and I'm honored to do that, because that's one of the things that I think we also have to remember as women is we need to find ways to always lift each other up, support each other, share each other's stories and journeys. And
Absolutely.
I love that you're doing that. And you're right.
Yeah.
I mean, we are totally, I feel like you said, like it's a little bit slower pace in the city of New York.
A little bit. Yeah.
And so it's really powerful that, and no matter what age, as you said, is to make a pivot. And sometimes, the pivot could even be in our career to help support us with what we want to do. And I love that you're teaching that art. I love art therapy. I think for the listeners, if you've never tried art therapy, it's very powerful. I share on here before, that's when I used to concentrate just on health and wellness and help people, lose their weight, shed some fat for them in healthy ways. That was one of the things that they would be like flabbergasted by, because I'd be like, okay, so what's life like when you hit this goal? You're going to, no matter what program do, you're going to hit the goal, but what's life like when you do that? And then I would tell them they're going to go home and they're going to draw me a picture of life. They're like, draw me a picture? Like, and like, you're going to color it, and and I'm sure you've seen, Joanna, too. It just, I feel like art therapy brings a really great peace. Every year we do a retreat every year. We have a pajama retreat. And a few years ago, before COVID, I connected with somebody who does, helps you do promotional products. And I'm like, I want a journal, but I don't want just a journal that you just write in. I want you to color, have it powerful. So on one side was where you would color, and the other side is where you write. And I literally, in preparing for this year's, we have our 7th retreat coming up this year. In preparing, I'm like, oh my gosh, I only have like 15 of those books left. I'm like, I need to reorder them and get some more, because everybody loves that book because it is so therapeutic. And
it really is.
So tell us let's talk about the book. So tell us, what is, if you had to pick your top 3, I'm not going to make you pick your one, but your top 3 places in the world for wine, what's your top 3?
So of course, Italy number 1, France number 2, Spain number 3. Definitely in that order. Although quite frankly, I would be thrilled to settle in any one of those countries, because it's not just art that they have there that is just so phenomenal. It's the culture, it's the people, it's the food. There's just so many wonderful things in Europe and in those countries where you can learn from and indulge in and just be so inspired. So inspired to do anything you want to do. And as a woman, it's very empowering to be that way. Very, very empowering.
So tell them again. So Italy
is my first, only because I've been there 5 times already.
Okay.
France is my second, because I've only been there once, but I know a lot about their wines. And Spain only because I have not been there. I've so enjoyed all those wines from Spain, and I want to learn how to do the flamenco.
Oh yes, we should go do that here in Brandon. I think there's some dance places
Yeah,
to go learn
exactly.
that.
I could go to Ybor City and do it, right? But I want to go to Spain and do it. I don't want to go to Ybor. I mean, Ybor's great, but how could you compare? I'd love to get on a plane and go to Spain and do it, to Madrid, and
we did
Seville.
We did a trip to Madrid. So in 2008, I think it was 2008, we were we had always wanted to go to Italy, and so we had saved up all of our miles from our airline tickets, all that fun stuff, and we planned out a trip to Italy. And so when we would call the airlines, they're like, "Well, listen, we can get you back home, but you have to stay overnight in Madrid." I'm like, "I'm not going to stay just one night in Madrid." So here we were, ourselves and our two boys. I think my youngest was in first or second grade, and we spent the night, and we spent 2 nights in Madrid, and it was so much fun. I found this cute little market, went shopping, found the cutest little outfits and stuff for really inexpensive. It was so amazing. The boys loved it. It was the first week, and they were open to some culture shocks that we had never, at that young age, we weren't discussing. Back then, today's world, they talk about it all the time. But it was really interesting, but we loved it. We loved the 2 days we spent there. So we even took in a, what is it called? The bullfighting. We even took in a bullfighting show.
Oh, in Pamplona.
Yes.
That's right. When you watch the bulls. Yeah.
I made it through, I think I made it through 3 of them, and I was like, I'm done. I got to be out of here. So, but yeah, it's so fun. And, for the listeners, it's great. You have to go and travel. You really need to take off and travel and broaden your horizons. Not just, we have great places here in the States, don't get me wrong, but there's so many beautiful places. I loved Italy. Italy was so much fun for us. We had so much really cool experiences with the kids. It was easy to travel with them, my funny story for Italy is, we had our launch, and that was before I realized you got to pack small because you don't need a lot of stuff when you go to these countries, right? But you had 2 kids, so you're thinking in your head what you need. And so there wasn't like laundry mats, and the places we stayed at. When we got to Florence, we stayed in, so for those that are listening, when you travel around the country, sometimes some of the countries only let you have so many people in a hotel room. And so we couldn't have 4 of us, no hotel we found in Florence, could we put 4 of us in a hotel room. So back before VRBO was, whatever they were called before, I think it was Home Away, we booked a flats in Florence. And my husband was really nervous because we had to send cash over like PayPal or whatever before we went. And then we had to bring cash when we got there. And it's like, what if it's a scam, And I'm like, no, I found a backup hotel just in case. And that had 2 rooms for us, but it was great. The gentleman was so awesome. He brought us up to the flat, and again, we have no washer and dryer, right? So by now, I have to wash clothes for the boys, and so I did the old-fashioned way. I put them in the tub, and I washed them in the tub.
My God! How authentic to do that in Italy!
In Italy, it was so much fun. And then because we had this like flat here in Florida, we call it like a lanai. You might call it a patio, whatever. So it was all outside. So I had to dry it. So the only way I could dry it, they didn't have, hangers or rods. So I just laid them all over the furniture outside. And my boy, they were like, "You're hanging our underwear outside. Why do you have our underwear so we can see it?" I'm like, "Nobody can see it. Look at the windows, Mom." I'm like, "They're not going to care. They're never going to see it again."
God. That's so cute.
So much fun. Cute. It was a blast. So art therapy. So do you have any of your favorite artists that you love to follow?
I've always been a huge Picasso fan, but all of the abstract artists are really, wonderful. The thing I love about abstract art is being an abstract expressionist is really just the fact that there's no rules. There's no rules. And when you paint portraits and you're doing drawing and sketching. There's so many rules, and there's just so many techniques. And with abstract art, I'm painting with a palette knife, and I am just going right on the canvas, and I'm not even thinking about it. I'm just processing and letting go, and just it's just such a wonderful feeling. It's almost like going to the gym, because all the endorphins are all out, and you really just you just become happy. You just become focused and happy, and you don't think about the outside world and all the nonsense that's going on around you and all the white noise that's going on around you. You're thinking only of what you're doing, and you are totally present. And that's what I love about it the most. It's just such an it's such an empowering feeling, and you just feel so connected to who you are and what you are.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I love too, is the abstract. I love just make something creative. Who cares, And I think
it's because it's not for the reader, it's not for the enthusiast, it's not for the audience, it's for you.
Right.
And even if you don't sell, it's for you.
Yeah.
Everything you do is for you. So that's really the best part of it. And again, that's the same with my book. I wasn't too concerned about sales, because with my book, I feel like I finally did this, something I wanted to do a long time ago in New York. And, I shopped around a little bit for publishers, but it was expensive, and I was so focused on my career, I just didn't have the extra time.
Right.
And I said, well, now that I'm here in Florida, I've got the time. I'm going to make the time, even if I don't have the time, and I'm going to do it on my own. And if I don't sell that many books, that's okay, because it's for me. I did it for me, and I finally finished something that I wanted to do. And, it's never too late. I was in a women's empowering circle last night, and we talked, the theme of it was, it's never too late. And oh my God, I had so much to say when it was my turn to talk. It's never too late. It's never too late to relocate to Florida. It's never too late to write a book. It's never too late to start a second career. It's never too late.
I love that you said never too late. That's so so powerful, because it's never too late. When it's too late is when you're not here, right? It's then it's too late, and then you haven't left that legacy or empowered or inspired somebody to put together a beautiful book about what brings you, what your passions are, and and the beautiful art that you have. So tell us the process. Like, you did the blogging, you were doing these network groups, and then you decided to put the book. How hard was it for you to pick what you wanted to put in the book? Like, tell us about that. How hard was it, the process of putting that together? And you have so many options to choose from. Like, how did you narrow it down to what you wanted to be specific about in the book?
Yeah, well, first I went to a couple of book groups, virtual book groups here in Florida, and that was really, really very helpful. They told me all about KDP, which is Kindle Direct Publishing, which is the publishing company online that I went through. So they were helpful. And then, because I'm here in Florida, I don't have a separate studio for all my art. So all my art is all around me. It's on the walls, it's leaned against the walls, and I have everything with me. I left nothing behind, because again, this is my final destination. I'm never going back to New York. And I'm just surrounded by my art. So, I would read about the wine review that I chose to put in a specific chapter. And then I thought to myself, well, what attracts me to this painting that I think will collaborate with this wine review? And that's how I put the book together. 16 different wine reviews and 16 different paintings, each painting incorporated into each review. And then of course the front and the back is another painting. So it was a collaboration of wine and art. And I really sat down and I thought about, if I'm going to have this bottle of wine, what do I want to look at? What do I want to see? What calls to me? What do I feel? What colors come to me? How does this bottle of wine express these colors and these shapes and these, movements? And that's how I came up with it.
So, and I know that you shared outside, whenever our guests come on, we ask them to share some stuff about them. And I know one of the things is you self-taught yourself your abstract art, right?
Yes. Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Self-taught abstract art. Yeah. It's so funny. And I'll tell you how that started. It's really kind of a funny story. I did one sip and paint years ago, and I was so in love with the painting. And then I did another sip and paint. So I did two sip and paint courses. And then I went to my local art league when I was on vacation from work. I had, you only get 1 week's vacation at a time. And I had nothing planned. I wasn't going anywhere, but I wanted to do something enriching and fun, and I wanted to learn something. And I took classes at this local art league, but really none of it was abstract art. But I had spoken to one of the teachers there, and I told him that I really, really, really love abstract art. And he said, there is no course for that. He said, that's just all about you and what you feel you want, how you feel you want to express yourself. There's no specific course, although they teach them, there are courses for abstract art. But after I heard that from one of the teachers, because I was doing an oil painting class, I just said, you know what, I'm going to go to I can't even remember, one of the art stores, one of my local art stores, pick myself up a floor easel and get started. And that's how I did it. I had hardwood floors in my co-op that I owned in Long Island. And I made a separate section on the corner of my living room, right by the windows. Got rid of some stuff, and I started setting everything up, for my paints and for my palette knives. And then I had all my art books for inspiration. I just kept painting, and I played all different kinds of music to motivate me, all different music from France, Spain, Africa, everything just for motivation. Of course, my wine. And I just started painting. And it was something that I was just so happy doing. It became part of my life. And for a while there, I was painting almost every day. And I just had so many paintings. And so now in my apartment here, with nothing left behind, I have about 300 paintings, all 16 by 20s, 18 by 24. I sell them on all my art websites under Art Reflections Design. I have a page on Twitter, I have a page on Instagram, and then I also have home products and accessories featuring my designs, which is really exciting. Weekend bags, cell phone cases, yoga mats, blankets, all featuring my designs, and I sell them on Threadless and Etsy. I also have a purse and high heel shoe line, and that's on Etsy, and that features my designs. Yeah, so it's very exciting. I did a lot with it. I really did. It was just like a snowballing effect. Once I did this, I said, well, maybe if I start with this, if I'm going to do shoes, I need to do matching purses. And if I'm going to do blankets, I need to do yoga mats. So it was kind of like a snowballing effect. And that's how I created all my product. So I'm very excited about it.
That's so awesome. Well, we're going to have to talk when we're done about your yoga mats, because we do. Yeah. So I have a course. It's called the Shiro Method, and it's a 4-month course. And so it's basically a GPS roadmap to putting yourself first, to doing like what Joanna's talking about, going after your dreams. Stop putting them on the shelf and go, I'll open that book when I get everybody else taken care of, right? And so we start with, what is your passion? What is your vision? What is that goal? What is that big dream that if you had all the time in the world to do, what would you do, right? And then, okay, let's make it happen. There's no reason why it can't happen. So we have this 4-month process, and part of that also includes like journaling and meditation and things like that. So we'll definitely have to talk to you about some of those products, because I love to support and all. And I just think it's so cool that that as you guys are listening, Joanna shared how there was nothing out there to teach her to do this. So she's like, I'm going to go teach myself, which is another example of what we talk about here about, if you can't find it, teach it. If you can't find the help, do it on your own. Absolutely. Joanna did the right thing you should do is go find a mentor and like, this is what I want to do. And then let's do it together, And if you can't find somebody to be there for you, then you can do it on your own. It doesn't, get
Yeah.
a girlfriend and be like, I'm going to do this. Come support me. Let's have a,
Uh-huh.
like Joanna said, do a dine and wine or, a wine and paint kind of thing together, whatever
Right.
inspires you. It's so, so powerful to do that. I just love
Yeah,
that. And
it's true.
yeah. And so one of the things that, is that we talk about here all the time is that, and we said it earlier in the show, we're not promised tomorrow. So go after that dream today. And Joanna, you've been doing that. You've been doing that. You left a corporate job to come down here. So tell the listeners, like, how hard was it to make that decision and to take that leap? Because, we were talking, and you've visited in the Shiro League before, but we were talking last night in the Shiro League. And for the listeners, the Shiro League is our community of women. We meet every Sunday evening from 8 to 9 p.m. We don't record. It's a free space, safe space to share what's on your mind, to lift each other up. And last night, one of the girls, she shared a quote, and I love what she shared. It was her quote. She said, "How can I make today easy?" I thought that was so powerful. How everyone, she says to herself, how can she make today easy? And, I love, like, what you did wasn't easy. Coming here, making that move was not easy. But how did you?
Scary. It was scary.
Yeah. So tell us about that.
Yeah. So one thing I learned a long time ago was I have to be my own advocate. I have to stand up for myself. I have to be my own advocate. And if I don't have my own tribe around me, I have just myself. So I have to learn how to stand on my own 2 feet and do what I need to do. And one of the reasons why I came down here again was because I just knew that I was not going to get my career off the ground. Every Fortune 500 company was closing down and laying everybody off. And I really didn't, there was really nobody that I could run to back in Long Island where I could say, listen, can I stay at your place for a couple of weeks? I really didn't have anyone. And I actually, this was really the sad part because I'm a lifelong Long Islander. I had to live in a hotel for the last 30 days when I was getting myself out of New York to move to Florida because I really didn't have anybody. But thank God I had the money to be able to do that because I had a nice salary in New York. And that is the only thing that I missed from New York is my New York City salary, because I'm never, ever going to see that here, especially working in a second career. But I knew that I had to do it. And it was almost like a forced hand because I knew that if I stayed in New York, I would dwindle away my life savings and pay it on high rent in a shoebox apartment because I looked at so many apartments after I sold my co-op. And I looked at so many apartments and they were tiny little shoeboxes, not in the best areas. And the rents were so high. And of course, it didn't have any amenities. And I said, I'm doing it. I'm going to come to Florida. I'm going to spend 3 days here and I'm coming home with a new address, whether I want to or not. I am determined to come home with a new address. And when I came to this place, one of the leasing specialists, Lee, this adorable young man, was so helpful. And he said to me, I can approve you in 10 minutes. Boom, I was sold. Jackpot. So that's how I ended up here. And I just renewed, a little pricey. So I was thinking about relocating because it's gone up again.
Right.
It's actually gone up $300 a month since I'm here.
Wow.
And that's the rents around this area. It's very, very pricey. So I was thinking of relocating, but I just could not find what I have. So I said, you know what, I'm going to bite the bullet one more year, try to work as much as I can. And, next year I'll be 55, so I can get my 55 plus complex that I've been wanting to get into. Very, very happy about that. I never thought I'd say to myself, oh, I can't wait to be 55 so I can get into a 55 plus complex. But I've seen them and I love the amenities. I want my shuffleboard. I want my tennis courts. I want my bocce ball. So, so I decided to stay here another year and count the days until I turn 55.
I love it. And I think that's hilarious. Okay, so I'm going to be 50. I'm going to be 50. Well, oh my God, I'm going to be 58 this year or 59. I don't remember. But I remember like when I hit that 50, you get the, senior, whatever it was, discount. I'm like, oh, and then I don't ever say it. I don't ever use it. But you're right. It's like there's some really cool communities as you get older,
Beautiful.
yeah,
Beautiful.
yeah. So
Yeah.
tell me, so you made this big move. You pushed through the fear and said, I'm going to do that. And then you got everything together and you've made this move, right? But why Tampa area? What drew you to our area?
Yeah, just because of the business mind that I have. I said, I am a city girl. I spent 30 years in New York City. So for me to find opportunities, I need to be near a city. So of course, Tampa popped into my head. Everybody moves to Florida to go to the beach. Joanna moves to Florida to live in a city. Go figure, right? I spent all my money, thousands of dollars to get myself and my car here, set myself in an apartment, and I moved to another city instead of the beach.
I
But,
love it.
I was just so worried about finding opportunities. I knew I had to go to work. I had to work. I have to support myself. So
Right.
I figured, I'm going to find more opportunities if I'm near a cosmopolitan city than if I'm somewhere, in on the beach in Boca Raton. Although I'd love to go to Boca Raton,
But the cool thing is like you're not too far. We're at least an hour, less than an hour drive to the beach, which is really great.
Yeah.
That was when I grew up in West Palm Beach. My parents moved from North Carolina to West Palm Beach, Florida, when I was in my starting my sophomore year of high school. And it was great. I loved it, but I didn't love the area. And it's not that, there's anything wrong with it. I just didn't like the area. So when I met my husband and we were living in Virginia, he's like, I had this opportunity to go to Florida. I'm like, what coast? I was like, I knew I didn't want to be on the East Coast because it just didn't feel like home for me. It never felt like home when I lived there. I've got great friends. I mean, my high school reunion is this year. I've got all those great connections, but to live there was not like in my heart. And so he's like, the Tampa area. I'm like, oh, let's go check it out. And here we are 17 years later. We're still here. We've raised our kids here, so it's been amazing. So I just love that. So, okay, we're going to do a little shift here. You have visited, you've been in the Shiro League as a visitor with us a couple of times. And, you've seen what we talk about in there and how we support each other. We bring amazing guests in to visit with us. So the Shiro, for the listeners that are listening that haven't heard what it means, Shiro doesn't just mean you're a female hero. It means that you are strong, you're happy, you're empowered, you're radiant, and you're an original. And so I want to walk through some of that a little bit with you, Joanna, if you'll play along with me.
Absolutely.
Yay. So, one of the things that we're talking about, and the reason why the Shiro comes about is that the S stands for strong, as I said. And strong, I feel like when you start standing in that strength of knowing that I need to put myself first. I need to take chances like Joanna did and make a big change. Move out of whatever that big change is for you, whether it's small or big. The thing is once you start doing it, you gain that sense of, I've got this. I'm strong enough. I can pull through this. And as you do that happiness that maybe you've kind of buried down, that you haven't let come up too often, you start feeling that happiness and you start embracing that happiness. And then as you're doing both of those things, then you become empowered. You become empowered to continue the journey, to not give up even when the road gets rough. As Joanna says, rent goes up, things come in our way, right? And so you become empowered to be like, this is my dream. I'm going to write this book. I'm going to do this blog. I'm going to meet these people. And then there's this thing called glowing up, which is what the R stands for. It's like, as you do that, you have this new confidence in yourself that people around you are now noticing it. They're going, Joanna, what's so different about you? Like, did you color your hair? Did you lose some weight? Like, you just look so different. What is that about? Because then when you get to the original is like people call it being your authentic self. You're authentically in there. You've just kind of shut off the switch or turn off the switch or shut off the flow of the water to come out. And you start going, this is who I was meant to be. I was meant to share about wine. I was meant to talk about art. I was meant to make these changes in my life and be who I always wanted to be and not let anything stop me from doing that. And so that's what a Shiro is all about. And so one of the things we talk about in the Shiro League is finding your joy. And we're doing this great process right now. We have the 6-week goal that everybody has set and they're working on it. We're journaling through it. We're writing about it. And the thing is one of the things that they had to do is they had to come up with 10 things that bring them joy. We're not going to have Joanna do 10 things. And if you've been listening, you know that we ask you to give us 3. So Joanna, if you had to give me 3 things that bring you joy, what are they and why do they bring you joy?
Okay, so right off the top of my head, I can just talk to you about Chiarenza, which is the name of my dog because I fell in love with your last name. You have such a beautiful last name. I'm a big fan of poetry, and I have a Sicilian poetry book. And one of the names in one of the poems was Chiarenza. And I never heard that name before. And I'm 100% Sicilian American. I've never heard that name before. It was so exotic and it was so beautiful. And when I adopted my rescue last year, she came with the name Maya. And to me, she does not look like a Maya. She is a Chiarenza. So I would say she is my number one joy. She is my pride and joy, and especially that I'm here alone. I have no family. I have no children. She is my baby. So she is my number one joy. The second thing I would say would probably be this whole Florida lifestyle. You know, it's just so different from the hustle and bustle and getting up so early, jumping on that train every morning, standing there in the freezing rain and the snow. So I would have to say the Florida lifestyle is the second thing that brings me joy. And as far as the third thing that brings me joy, I would say community. Just, I'm trying to establish myself here in Florida and trying to make new friends and socialization, being out, being with friends, going out to dinner, socializing, going to the movies, just being with people, community. That's another thing that brings me joy.
I love all 3 of those. And it's so funny that you, so when I met my husband, his biological dad died the day before he was born. So his stepdad is who raised him, I think around 3 years old. And so so when we were getting married, he's like, I think I want to change my last name to my stepdad's. I'm like, okay, do it before we get married. I don't want to change my name twice. So he changed his last name to Chiarenza. And Connie was an Italian, when everybody came over from immigrant from Italy, you had to change your last name or shorten if it wasn't able to be pronounced. Yeah. So his was a long last name and they made him shorten to Connie, which is crazy. It's no Italian whatsoever. But when I remember the day I was getting married, my father-in-law came up to the Catholic church we got married in California, did not have a place for me to go stay. And so I got ready at my mom's house and we drove up the corner to the church. Now, everybody in California shows up late for everything, including weddings. And so I remember our priest going, well, I start on time. I'm like, okay. So people are coming in. I'm like, go get your seat. And my father-in-law comes in and he grabs my hands and he says, welcome to the family. And he says, just remember the correct way to pronounce it is how Joanna just pronounced it. And I said, Dad, I love you. I cannot roll an R. There'll be no way I'll ever be able to roll a C. So it's Chiarenza. So
it's so funny. When I first started calling her by name, I called her Chiarenza. And then I went on Google because somebody corrected me. And I said, you know what? I'm going to go on Google Translate. And it is Chiarenza.
Yes.
So now, and every time I tell anyone her name, they never say it the right way. And I'm like, Chiarenza. They don't get it. But that's okay.
I love that you gave that example as one of your ones because it just warms my heart. And then the Florida, you're right. Like this morning, I know people that are listening in these cold states right now. I apologize. But I went to go walk my dog and it was 49 degrees. I'm like, I guess I need a jacket, right? But my husband, who's from Buffalo, would be like, that ain't cold. Put a tank top on and shorts. I'm like, no. Yeah. So I love that you said, but you're right. There's something about our lifestyle here. It is laid back. It's not hustle and bustle. I mean, many times I've gone to visit New York City and it's like it's a whole different world. Right. And I just love that you shared that. And then community, that's one of my ones too, that warm my heart. I believe in giving and be involved in our community. Every year when we do our pajama retreats, every September, which we have 4 spots left, everybody. If you want to come join us, just go to wslivingretreats.com. That's wslivingretreats.com. But we're all about community as well. So on Sunday, like your cost to attend the retreat includes everything, your meal, your stay, everything at the retreat. The only thing it doesn't cover is your Sunday lunch, because I believe in going out to community, finding a mom and pop restaurant or, a women's own restaurant and just supporting them. And that's my way of ensuring everybody gets to the community. And so I love that you shared community, because we do have a great community here. And I was very blessed, last year when my son passed in July, there's a great foundation called the Angel Foundation. And
yes, I've heard of it.
Yeah. So they like took our family underneath their wings. I donate to them. Never ever thought I would be on the receiving end, because you never know what happens. But I just love our community as well. So I'm so happy you said those three. So now the next question I have, and this is what their homework assignment this week is to go back and revisit these two lists that we're reviewing right now, because it's good to recheck your list. So, we get so busy. We make lists about cleaning our house. We make lists about grocery lists, the things we have to do lists. We have all these lists, but we forget sometimes to make the not to do list. Like, what do I have to put on my list to stop doing that's not allowing me to have fun with my dog, to be involved in my community, to enjoy my Florida lifestyle? So if you were to think of 3 things that you have to put on your not to do list, those 3 things you need to stop doing because it would keep you from these top 3 things on your joy, what would you think those would be, Joanna?
So I would say the first thing is for me to stop acting like a New Yorker. Stop rushing. I have my appointment book right here with me. I don't do it on Google. I like to see it on paper, because I'm always erasing and changing and everything. And I keep it right next to my Google Chrome book, which is what I'm on right now. And I schedule everything. And there are like 2, 3, 4 things in a day. Tonight I have lunch plans. And then tonight there's a hope meeting at a Bible church that I'm going to with a friend. So I've got a lot of things going on today. I'm trying to get a new student. So I have a meet and greet, plus I'm doing tutoring, and I've just got so many things going on, and I have to learn how to slow down. So that's one of the things that I need to do so I can continue to do all the things that are on my joy list, what brings me joy. So that's one of the things. Slow down. And then I think the second thing was not to try so hard. I have so much perseverance and resilience in me that I feel, because of my resilience and because of my perseverance and because of the work ethic that's been ingrained into my brain, it always makes me try so hard. And sometimes when I try so hard, I'm spinning my wheels, and that's detrimental to moving forward. So I would say that's probably the second thing. And what's the third thing? That's a tough one. Not trying so hard, slowing down my lifestyle, and just finding more ways to find joy. I would say I need to find more. Even though I do all of this, art therapy, I'm not really doing it now. I need to find more time for scheduling in. I can go to an open studio because I can't paint here. So I could go to an open studio and paint, and I should schedule that into my week. And I don't do it because I feel like I have so many other things to do. So I would say make more time for art therapy.
Yeah, those are 3 great ones too, because slowing down, we all get so busy in life and what's interesting, and that was one of the things, through COVID, that was a benefit that COVID came. It made everybody like almost come to a screeching halt in their life, right?
Yeah.
And then I've talked as I coach women, because I do one-on-one coaching about prioritizing our lives and going after our goals and our dreams. One of the things is, don't let the craziness after COVID, don't bring it back from before COVID. Like, how do you create that balance? And there are ways. You did it during COVID. So let's replicate it in the way that you have to do now in your life after COVID. So I love that you said that, about that great reminder, and not trying so hard. That's powerful, you guys, because I think sometimes we go in and we expect everything to be perfect. And if it's not, we're like, what did I do wrong? Just, give yourself that grace of saying, you know what? If I don't get it all done today, it's okay. I Monday mornings are usually my focus time from 9 to 1 in the morning. I usually don't record like we're recording today on a Monday, but I normally don't record. But I gave myself grace to say it didn't work out last week for Joanna and I, so let's make it happen today. And not be so hard on myself when it didn't. If it last week, if whatever stopped me from doing things last week or today, it's okay. It is what it is. You just kind of have to go with the flow. I have this affirmation I say every morning, and that is, I'm beautifully and wonderfully made, good, bad, or indifferent. Whatever comes my way today, there's a lesson to be learned in it. And that way I allow myself
That's
to say,
lovely.
yeah, because things are going to happen
Lovely.
and things are going to stop our day, or things are going to, try to sabotage our mindset. And,
Yeah.
don't just let it roll off. That's one of the things in my positive intelligence course that we talk about is naming that saboteur, that judge that shows up during the day. And when Betsy shows up for me, I'm like, yeah, no, we're not doing this today. So I love that you did that. And then, and then making that time for your joy, like scheduling it. So you guys listen, that was a great, powerful example, Joanna, all three of those, but making the time for your joy, scheduling time for you. So powerful. Scheduling time for you is really, really important that we do that. So I'm so glad you played along with me on that question.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I want you to share with everybody how they can find you, how they reach out to you, how they can buy your book, and tell them the name of your book again.
Okay, so it is Divulge D'VINO, and it is available on Amazon.com. The Kindle version is free. If you have Kindle, you can download for free. If you'd like to purchase it on Kindle, it's $9.99, and this paperback version is $19.99. And again, it's on Amazon.com. And as far as my paintings, home products, and accessories, it's all under the name Art Reflections Design. So if you just do a search for Art Reflections Design, you'll find that on Twitter, and you will find that on Instagram. And then on Threadless, you can find me on threadless.com, actually artreflectionsdesign.threadless.com. And then Etsy is etsy.com shop, and then Art Reflections Design. Yeah. And then, of course, LinkedIn. I'm under LinkedIn. You can find me and you can learn more about who I am and what I am. I have a profile under Joanna Barbolla. And then if you would so desire to friend me on Facebook, I'd love to hear all about you and see what you're all about.
Yay. So we'll make sure we put all those links. They'll be available when we share the YouTube and all the radio show and all the podcasts, so we can find you. And so one of the things, Joanna, that we do is we love to do these better questions, better life cards. And so I'm going to shuffle them. I forgot to tell them before we started, you guys. So my mistake. So I'm going to shuffle them. You're going to tell me when to stop. And then we're going to pick the card that we're going to answer the card you have me stop at. So here we go. You tell me when to stop.
Okay.
Okay. So her card is, how shall I live? So her card is, how shall I live? And for the listeners at home, you should answer that question yourself. How shall I live?
Authentically. I shall live authentically. I shall live truthfully, truthfully and authentically.
I love those. Be our true self, right? Yeah.
Be our true self, right? Be who you are. Exactly. Yeah. Never forget who you are.
Yeah. I love that card. Like for me, it's like, how shall I live? Shall live in the moment. I shall, find joy in everything that I do. And then also for me too, is, if it doesn't align up with me, I'll release it. That's how I live.
Yeah.
Release. And, it's really important too, for the listeners to understand is that, when we talk about releasing things in our life, it's not just things, it can be people too. Sometimes people come in our lives in a season, sometimes who they are doesn't really show up in that relationship. And then all of a sudden they show up and you're like, I need to release this person from my life because that's not how I want to be aligned with somebody ethically. So, and I talked from experience. I had to release a friend who we were tied at the hip everywhere we went, and some things that showed up was not how I believed life should be. And so I had to release that person. And it can happen in your own family. I mean, within my own family, Chuck and I tried for years to have children. We were very blessed that 10 years into our marriage, we were able to adopt our son, Matthew, who was Czechoslovakian Haitian. So he was mixed race. We did our list, of who we thought might be concerned as we were going through before we committed to adopting Matthew, because we wanted to make sure he was coming into a safe environment. And, in the back of my mind, I think my dad was on that list, but I didn't want to maybe acknowledge or believe it. And then years later, when Matt became a teen, my dad showed up in that racist way that I didn't want to believe, possibly was deep down in there. And so how shall I live? I shall live protecting my children. And one was to release my dad, and say, you are physically here, but the privilege of being called my dad, Father Bill, who at my church here locally, I'd gone to a retreat and we had a conversation, and this is really powerful. And I want everybody to listen to this. And that is, we don't get to pick our parents and or our relatives, but we love them no matter what. And this life is our life. And we have rules and regulations, just like a baseball or football game, that they have to apply by. And if those in your life, friends, family, whoever they are, can't abide by your rules and regulations of your life, it's okay to let them sit in the bench and not play the game. It's okay to do that. And you still love them. You still care for them. It's just that your game of life doesn't allow them into the play right now. So I want to remind everybody about that. And it's so, so powerful. And that's actually one of the things that we do talk about in our coaching that I do in our 4-month Shiro Method Roadmap Masterclass. And that is, we talk about who is keeping you back from going after that roadmap of life that you are putting yourself in place. Who's stopping you from getting your dreams? Who's those people? And then how do we communicate your realistic expectations with them around what you want to accomplish? And so it's not an easy task. Life is not easy, but if we can get some tools in our toolbox to help make it through, it becomes so much more achievable and beautiful in our life, is what I really believe. So, Joanna, I am so glad that I met you in your transition here to Florida. We live in the same town, and we're going to be doing lots together. And you guys will put all the links to where you can buy her beautiful book, connect with Joanna. But I just want to tell you, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me. It's such a good time. It's so much fun. And it was like a girls' night out for breakfast.
There we go. We just forgot to bring the wine.
Exactly. Next time.
Yes, for sure. So I just want to remind everybody again, we come into this world where this rough oyster on the outside, there's a lot we have to do to work at that and to work at opening up that oyster. And as you do, you will find your inner pearl of greatness. And I hope you go out today in the world and you find your inner pearl of greatness. Follow us on YouTube as well, and like us on YouTube and share us all the way out. Have an amazing day.
Hello, sunshine, good to see you again. Had to walk out